Barbara Yacht, the quiet giant that feels like a floating nature resort. The tease. Before we get into the numbers, let me plant one clue in your head. There's a signature detail inside Barbara that looks like it grew out of a forest, something so unexpected on a modern superyacht that it changes how you read the entire design. Hold that thought. I'll come back to it at the end. First impressions. Barbara isn't the kind of yacht that begs for attention with sharp angles and spaceship drama. She's more like the person at the party wearing a perfectly tailored suit, saying almost nothing, and somehow owning the room anyway. Built by Oceanco and delivered in 2017, Barbara stretches 88.5 meters, about 290 feet, yet she wears that size in a calm, controlled way. A 14.5-meter beam gives her a wide, confident stance on the water, and the overall silhouette feels smooth, organic, and, honestly, kind of soothing. What I appreciate is the restraint. In a world where some mega yachts look like floating office buildings with a helipad slapped on top, Barbara feels like the design team actually cared about how the yacht breathes from every angle. You don't just look at her, you feel the intention. Overview: what Barbara actually is. This is a true displacement superyacht with a steel hull and an aluminum superstructure, built for comfort, stability, and long-range cruising. Translation: she's designed to glide, not sprint. She can still move when she wants to, but her main talent is making the ocean feel quieter than it has any right to be. Barbara's styling is associated with Sam Sorgiovanni, and it shows in the softened lines and those distinctive elliptical hull windows. The vibe isn't glossy showroom, it's more like floating resort, where the luxury feels lived in and warm instead of cold and shiny. The experience? Living on a yacht that doesn't feel like a museum. On board, Barbara is typically presented for charter with up to 12 guests, while private layouts can accommodate more depending on configuration. Either way, the point is clear. This yacht was built to host. She's not just a floating sculpture. She's a working, high-end environment that's meant to run like a five-star hotel that never checks out. And you can tell the designers were thinking about human behavior, not just Instagram angles. There's flow. There are social zones that feel effortless, and there are quieter pockets where the yacht gets almost meditative. One of the underrated flexes is that Barbara is often described with an elevator on board. That sounds like a small detail until you remember you're basically living inside a multi-deck building on the sea. Stairs are cute until you've been in the sun all day, and your knees start negotiating terms. Key features that make it feel like a private resort. Barbara is widely described as having resort-style amenities, spaces designed around wellness, lounging, and that indoor-outdoor lifestyle people chase in places like the south of France. There's also touch-and-go helicopter capability often mentioned, which in normal person language means, yes, you can arrive like you're in a movie, minus the part where the director yells, "Cut." But the real story isn't any single feature. It's the overall atmosphere. Barbara leans into nature, warm tones, organic shapes, and materials that don't feel sterile. That's why she stands out. She's expensive, obviously, but she's also emotionally comfortable, which is a much rarer kind of luxury. Specifications you actually care about. Let's hit the real numbers, because I know that's what many of you came for. Barbara is 88.5 meters long, with a 14.5-meter beam and a draft right around 4 meters. Her gross tonnage is commonly listed around 2,984 GT, which puts her firmly in that serious, ocean-capable class. Power comes from twin MTU diesels, and the performance figures most commonly associated with her are a cruising speed around 16 knots and a top speed around 19 knots. That's the sweet spot for a yacht this size. Fast enough to cover distance and reposition with purpose. Slow enough to feel like you're gliding instead of fighting the sea. And here's the part people forget to mention. Range. Barbara is associated with a long-range figure around 8,300 nautical miles. That's not weekend toy energy. That's I can cross oceans and disappear energy. She's also commonly described with stabilizers that work both underway and at anchor, which matters more than people admit. Rough seas are fun in a movie. In real life, everybody just wants dinner to stay where it belongs. My personal rule is simple. If your yacht can't keep champagne calm, what are we even doing? Money talk, charter, value, and the cost. Nobody posts. All right, let's talk money like adults, because on super yachts, the purchase price is just the cover charge. Barbara's value is often discussed in the nine-figure range. Depending on market timing, brokerage chatter has placed her in the mid-100 millions euros, while broader estimates you'll hear in the U.S. luxury spaceland around the $150 million neighborhood. The exact number shifts with market conditions and how the yacht is positioned, but the point is the same. This is a top-shelf asset. If you're not buying, charter tells the story fast. Barbara is commonly advertised starting around $1.1 million per week, and peak summer weeks can climb higher, into the $1.2 million plus zone. And that's before expenses, meaning fuel, food, dockage, and the kind of behind-the-scenes spending that turns 1 week on a yacht into your accountant needs a vacation too. Now the part that never makes the highlight reel. Annual operating costs. A popular industry rule of thumb is that running a yacht can land around 10% of its value per year, sometimes more. For a yacht in the $150 million class, you're realistically staring at something like $15 million a year in crew salaries, maintenance, insurance, refits, and constant upkeep. Barbara isn't a purchase. She's a lifestyle subscription with a very aggressive renewal fee. Why Barbara hits different? Here's my honest take. Barbara is for someone who's over the look how rich I am phase. This yacht doesn't scream. The proportions don't bully the horizon. She just sits there, beautifully composed, and you realize she was built for people who already know what they like. Compare that to some modern mega yachts that feel like floating architecture experiments. Sharp, futuristic, almost intimidating. Barbara leans warm and human. It's luxury with an emotional temperature. The reveal, the forest detail I promised. All right, here's the clue from the beginning. One of the most talked about interior elements on Barbara is a sculptural stair and elevator feature wrapped in a root-like form, almost like a silver tree system climbing through the yacht. That single detail is basically Barbara's whole philosophy in one image. Nature, power, and luxury blended together without turning the yacht into a cliché. And honestly, I love that. Because the best luxury isn't just expensive, it's intentional. Your turn. Now I want to hear from you. If you had the choice, would you rather spend a week on a yacht like Barbara, calm, organic, resort-like, built for real comfort, or would you go louder and more futuristic, something that looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie? Drop your pick in the comments and tell me where you're watching from, because I always love seeing how global the luxury crowd really is. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like so YouTube knows you want more super yacht breakdowns. Subscribe for weekly luxury lifestyle investigations, and consider joining the channel for members-only extras. And if you want to support the channel directly, Super Thanks is the easiest way to keep these videos coming. Think of it as fueling the next yacht hunt without making me sell my kidney online.